part. Why are you clapping?
That's fine. We're ready now.
Welcome to the SST Podcast. We hope that this episode will not be a last. It's SST's very own variety shows. Come on down, meet your two hosts.
Welcome to the SST show. I'm your host, Mogul, and joined by my co-host,
SST Magnate. This podcast, we're going to be doing a variety show style, broken up into a series of segments, some about 15 minutes long, some much shorter as sort of a break in between. We'll do maybe 4 or 5 a week, a month. Just cut that in right there.
Yeah, 4 or 5 a month.
Monthly release podcast. Are we ready to get into the first segment?
Yeah, I think we are. So
I don't think we explained who we are, really.
All right, sure. Yeah, we can do a quick intro then.
The first segment is the intro.
All right.
All right, I'm SST Magnate, member of the Seattleite Satellites gaming org. Our org plays a variety of games, none of which we are competitive in. We do have a successful YouTube, and we'll post it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I'm SST Mogul, part of the same gaming organization. I'm not very good at any of the games that we play, but that's okay because I also go by Monstro Bizarro, and I feature in our Bigfoot hunting videos. With any luck, Monstro Bizarro will be coming in one of the next few episodes.
All right, is it time for our first segment?
I think it is, yes.
Welcome to Alpha Male Hour, a full quarter hour of alpha male content. We're going to be discussing grind sets. We're going to be discussing issues plaguing the men of the modern generation. We're going to tell you how to become the ultimate Sigma by dominating other men.
All right.
Take it away, Alex. What's our first topic of Alpha Male Hour?
All right. So the first topic of Alpha Male Hour is going to be something troubling the alpha male community right now, and that would be alpha decay. So I've been hearing lately that a lot of alpha men are unfortunately experiencing this sort of alpha decay where over time they end up losing...
Tell us about alpha decay, Alex.
So essentially in alpha decay, the nucleus of these men is emitting alpha particles, and over time, once enough of these alpha particles are emitted, the mass number will start to be reduced of that alpha male. And as we all know, the mass number of alpha men is very important. Particularly, we want to be above the 180 range, ideally. That is in pounds, of course.
How troubling. Is there anything alphas can do to prevent alpha decay?
Unfortunately, there isn't anything they can do, as far as I know, at least. It is a very slow process, but alpha males, especially those that are keen on watching their weight, will be noticing this, and it's just simply a byproduct of being an alpha male. So...
An important part of maintaining your alpha mass is proper dieting. So one thing I have been eating lately is alfalfa seeds. I've found to be quite effective, frankly, in promoting yourself into becoming the alpha male. That's actually why they're called alfalfa seeds, if you can believe that.
So I can become the alfalfa male if I eat the alfalfa seeds? Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
Okay, then
I eat about 300 a day.
300 a day?
Not to brag.
How big are these seeds? I've never seen one, actually.
They're about seed sized. I don't know. They're like a sunflower seed, probably.
That's good. I like sunflower seeds.
I haven't eaten any of them yet, so...
Well, I'll be sure to incorporate alfalfa seeds into my diet. But another thing all alpha men should be incorporating into their diet is alpha helices, actually, particularly in protein. That's where you get that. So these alpha helices, I mean, You find them all over the place in these proteins, but you want to make sure you're getting the right protein. Magnate, can you tell us more about getting the right protein?
Getting the right... yeah, an important... What the heck? You want to eat only rare meats. You want it to be so rare. You want it to have freshly killed this animal, honestly. I personally go out hunting raccoons in my backyard for my food. That and growing all natural alfalfa seeds guaranteed to make you into the alpha male.
Would a steak tartare qualify? That's one of my favorite foods. It is in the gold tier, so...
Yeah, well, it would only qualify if it has the egg, which...
of course, but the egg is included,
yeah. Gold tier, then yeah. If you killed the calf or cow.
Oh yeah, so you heard it here. Then raw eggs are really good if you want to maintain that mass.
Let's go over one more health issue for alpha males, and that's going to be lying to your doctor. Okay, I've been taking these things called beta blockers lately, and personally, every beta male I have come across has fled far the other way from me since I've been taking these. And as far as I can tell, there are no negative side effects.
Well, I can attest to that as someone who does also take beta blockers. They tend to work very well. My physician, Freddie, actually prescribed those to me. You're going to hear about him a little bit later, too. But, yeah, I'd recommend the beta blockers if you can get your hands on those. They really shouldn't be too hard to get your hands on, especially if you lie to your doctor like we both did.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is my blood pressure is 0.
Well, how is that working if it's 0?
I have a mechanical pump pushing the blood around my body right now because my heart has stopped working since I've been taking these beta blockers.
Well, what type of beta blockers are you taking? I've never had that happen.
I don't know. I'm taking some alpha beta blockers, honestly, because
Gotcha.
really everyone's been staying far away from me, and I cannot tell why.
So it's the exceptionally high dose, I take it?
Sure, yeah. Well, I grind them up into my alfalfa seeds, which are guaranteed to promote you into being the ultimate alpha male, 100% natural. Grow them in your own backyard. Feed them to your chickens so the steak tartare egg is extra alpha. You can't get enough of alfalfa seeds.
What if we don't have chickens in the backyard? Can we feed it to our dog instead?
Then it's
an alpha dog.
Then it's too late.
Oh, late?
It's too late. You can't be an alpha anymore.
Okay, so you need chickens. You're hearing it here first. You need chickens in the back.
Go buy some right now.
If you want to become an alpha male.
Go to the store and get some eggs and then sit on them and they'll turn into chickens eventually, I think.
Yeah, especially if your blood pressure is 0. You should be really cold, right? So the chickens will be sure to grow.
Yeah, that's a good climate for growing chickens, and I believe no biologist.
No.
To close out this alfalfa hour, and it has been an alfalfa hour, because I have been eating the seeds. But to close this out, we want to discuss who the ultimate alpha male is in our sub-segment, Mono E Mono. Today's Mono E Mono is going to be Andrew Tate versus Golden Tate, former Seahawks wide receiver. And I'll get us started here. I think this is a Golden Tate sweep. What do you think, Alex?
I don't know who Golden Tate is.
He's a legend, okay? He was not on the Seahawks Super Bowl winning team, but he was there in spirit.
What, did he die?
No.
Oh, okay.
He played for several more years on other teams. But he likes maple bars, which I don't think Andrew Tate has ever spoken about.
That's all I needed to hear.
So
If he likes maple bars, then he sweeps the competition in my books. But just for fairness, let's go ahead and run that competition anyways. Well, we don't have the categories then.
I'll make them up right now.
Okay, sure.
Mono E Mono. First category, speed. That's going to Golden Tate. Okay, you see those yards after catch. Andrew Tate could never.
All right, next category, we have strength. Also going to Golden Tate, unsurprisingly. I've heard he was very strong, even though I don't know who he is.
Third category is going to be criminal record. Now, this is a close one. Golden Tate did, in fact, break into a Top Pot Donuts in his youth to steal a maple bar. Contrast that with Andrew Tate, who I believe is being arrested for human trafficking in like Europe or something. This one does have to go to Andrew Tate, unfortunately. He is a much better criminal than Golden Tate, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but Golden Tate stole the most valuable item, though.
Which is the heart of our fans. So this one actually does go to Golden Tate after all.
Yep, criminal record, Golden Tate. All right, next we have elasticity, Golden Tate, Andrew Tate. This one is kind of a toss-up, really. They're both men, both around the same weight. At least I think they are. Nope, Golden Tate's bigger. He wins elasticity. He has that higher mass number. Alpha decay hasn't affected him as much. Extra skin, extra elasticity. That's all there is to it.
I will say about alpha decay, Golden Tate definitely strikes me as a man who's been eating alfalfa seeds, honestly. I'm sure he's achieved that second order alpha male by now. Next category is hacks. This goes to Golden Tate every time.
What hacks does Golden Tate have? Can you explain that to us?
This category is kind of bullshit, to be honest. But let's go to the next one. It's Golden Tate, though.
Okay, next category, Monstro's Pick. So, Monstro's Pick, I don't know if you don't know, Monstro Bizarro is a cryptozoologist friend of the channel, and we reached out to him before this episode asking him who he would have winning in a mano-a-mano, Golden Tate or Andrew Tate. Monstro Bizarro came back saying he wasn't sure who either of those people were because he's a cryptozoologist, of course. But ultimately he decided Golden Tate because of his association with the golden goose, which Monstro's been hunting lately. So anyways, Golden Tate wins a Monstro's Pick.
Golden Tate gets a solid gold tier ranking alongside the aforementioned steak tartare.
And California.
And I think that's a 6-0, 7-0 victory for Golden Tate.
Yeah, I think so. Especially after we took away criminal record from Andrew.
Yeah, that was kind of a big win for Golden Tate there.
It was an upset, to be sure.
Well, that's mano-a-mano, and that is our alpha male quarter pounder, quarter hour. Make sure to grow those alfalfa seeds to become the alpha male.
And make sure to eat the alpha helices. All right. Now, moving on to our next segment. It's going to be the Melee Minute.
Basically, the premise for this segment is we discuss a current event story while playing a round of Smash Melee for exactly 1 minute.
Yep.
So let's get it started here. Today I have the story. I'll introduce it. We'll get Alex's take, and we'll see who ultimately comes out on top, both in the discussion and in Melee. I think we're going Final Destination 100%.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Melee Minute. Today's story concerns J.D. Vance and the Magic the Gathering card that was his favorite in his youth. As a young child, J.D. Vance played Magic the Gathering, and his favorite card was Yawgmoth's Bargain, a card that allows you to pay life in order to draw cards. Alex, how does this reflect on J.D. Vance and his eligibility as vice president?
Well, I think on his eligibility, I mean, he clearly is paying quite a lot of life. Anyone who joins these political races is paying life, and Vance is no exception. Myself, personally, I only play Yawgmoth's Will. I think Yawgmoth's Bargain, not only is it banned, actually, but Yawgmoth's Will just a better card. And aside from that, I think it would just be a shame if we see someone playing Yawgmoth's Will get into the office. So I think that concludes our Melee Minute.
Okay. Welcome to our next segment, Book Club. The book of the hour is The Magic Trio, written by SST's very own SST Mantis when he was in middle school. The book begins, we're going over prologue and chapter 1 today in book club, and the book begins with a prophecy. The Magic Trio prophecy. Under the mantle crust of the earth, 3 silver wristlets are forged, each adorned with 7 EE1 runes, constructed during the apex of the strongest solar eclipse. These magic runes shall be under the control of the wristlet's wearer. Those who have forged them shall forget of their existence, and there will be 7 years of peace. The neglected wristlets will become restless, for they have no master. There is only one worthy enough to withstand the power which emanates forth, the one chosen when the sun and moon collide, emerging on the earth's surface during the next powerful eclipse. The power shall not be forgotten again.
All right, so thanks, Magnate, for reading us the prophecy. I'm going to get started with a quick summary of the prologue. So we start off just a nice opening on Henry Fletcher. So Henry Fletcher is a 43-year-old man. He has no friends and no family. He lives in Michigan, and we start the scene with him jogging by the pond. He's on the boardwalk. He pauses to catch his breath, and out of the corner of his eye, he spots a shiny object on the ground. He approaches it, and he sees a bracelet, and it has kanji-like symbols on it. It's Japanese, if you don't know. Anyway, so he touches it, tries to pick it up, but his hand is just streaking pain through his arm. He apparently writes it off as just a freak accident, thinks it's something someone left there, just a little trinket, and he goes back home. So once he gets back home, there's some writing that appears on his hand that actually turns out to be the prophecy that Magnate just told us. So how do you think that prophecy got in his hand?
I think it definitely has to do with his interaction with one of the magic bracelets. I think the way in which SST Mantis starts the book is very Shakespearean, in that it begins with sort of a character that we're not going to see so much for a while, but might come into play later.
Certainly. Yeah, and anyways, so yeah, you were right on there, Magnate. After he gets back, he looks at the prophecy, and apparently he reads all about it, because it's on his hand, obviously. And then he comes to the conclusion that the next solar eclipse will be happening in 1 week. And as we just heard from the prophecy, something big is going to happen on the next eclipse. So that's basically setting the stage right here for the entirety of the plot. We got 1 week to find out what's going to happen at this next eclipse. And anyways, back to Henry here. So he starts to feel ill, lightheaded. He's fainting, basically. He calls his physician, Freddie the physician. Same physician that I have, actually. And before Freddie can give him any help, before Freddie can help him at all, Henry loses consciousness and passes out. And then we cut to the first chapter of our book. And that first chapter, let me summarize that for us real quick. It starts with our main character, who is Timothy Brett. So, Timothy Brett, he enjoys coding, running, and sneaking around the house, avoiding his parents. Let me try that again.
He's an easy character for anyone to relate to.
I mean, he certainly is. He has brown hair, pale skin, and he just got into MAT, which is Marcus's Academy for Tech. It's a very prestigious high school in Chicago, in the suburbs specifically, and it's a science and technology school. All right, so anyways, first chapter starts with his day 1 at this new school. So he goes in through the school. It's his grand place. He's never seen anything like it. He makes it into the school, and then immediately he doesn't know the acronym for the school, which is MAT. So he gets corrected for that, and he runs into his first friend, Felix. So Felix, much shorter than him, blonde hair and freckles. What are your thoughts on Felix?
His name reminds me a little bit of former Mariner pitcher Felix Hernandez. I wonder if we might see Felix throw a baseball or pitch a perfect game at some point in this story. I'll be keeping my eye out.
All right, yeah. Well, I'll be keeping our eyes out for that. That's something for you to look for too when you're once this book gets released to the public. You can see if Felix pitches any perfect game. So, after he meets Felix, it turns out he and Felix have share many of the same classes. While we're on the topic of classes, why don't we just get into this real quick? Here's Timothy Brett's schedule. He's in 9th grade at MAT. He's starting it off period 1, Stealth A with Mr. Cody. And then he has period 2, Basic Self-Defense with Mr. Ty. Period 3, Intro to CS with Miss Alanis. Period 4, Circuitry A with Miss Linton. Then he has lunch. Period 5 is Parkour Training with Mr. Dreda. Period 6, Weaponry A with Mr. Esmond. And then his final class of the day, period 7, is Pre-Calc with Miss Sullivan. So, Magnate, what can this list tell us about Timothy?
I have to say this is a very biased schedule. I am noticing a distinct lack in any classes on any of the humanities. I have to wonder if it sort of reflects in a thematic way Timothy's own lack of humanity and his desire to immerse himself only into the technical and the more violent and deceptive classes.
Yeah, that's something that struck out to me too, especially Stealth A. You know, when I saw that schedule come out in the book, I wasn't sure what to expect from Stealth A with Mr. Cody. We'll get into that in a second, but as I was reading it, I was thinking, what could they be learning? Are they learning to sneak around the school? Are they learning to rob people? Are they learning how to become agents, like Agent I, for instance? I'm not sure, but now I am sure. He has been to the class. So let's get right into that. So the bell rings, and before Timothy and Felix can head over to the first class, Stealth A, they get ran into by this guy Corbin, who's the jock of the school. Corbin, as we'll later learn, he's not particularly intelligent, and he and Timothy have sort of got a little rivalry going on right off the bat. What do you think about Corbin?
One has to wonder how this kid even qualified to go to this school. He is dumb as a brick and about as useful. One has to wonder where SST Mantis found the inspiration to write such a compelling and yet stupid character as Corbin.
Well, as to how he may have qualified for the school's preliminary examination consists of 3 tests: a math test, a CS test, and then, I'm sorry about that, then an obstacle course. So, if anyone was getting in through the obstacle course, it would be Corbin. So, I think it's just a subtle way of Mantis trying to tell us that there's a lot of different avenues to get into this school. 3 different avenues to get into this school, actually. And one of them requires absolutely no skills in math or CS. And unfortunately, if you're not skilled in math, CS, or obstacle courses, the school is just not right for you. It's a sad day for you then. All right, so anyway, they make it to Stealth A with Mr. Cody. Right off the bat, it's a completely different game that Mr. Cody's playing with these students. You'd never seen anything like this. The class starts off, the door is locked. There's a padlock on the door. How are the students going to get in? Magnate?
Well, if I were there, I would probably just break the door down Corbin style, I think. He's actually a pretty cool guy now that I think about it. Makes me wonder if maybe he's on the school baseball team or something. He'd sort of be the star hitter paired with Felix Hernandez's pitching. They might make a pretty dynamic duo.
Just to clarify, Felix's last name is Griffin, so he is not the baseball player. Not yet, anyways. He might change his name as the story progresses. But it turns out you were wrong, and Corbin, he actually did wish to break the lock with his bare hands. He wasn't able to do it. First of all, there was another girl there. She's described as a tall girl. Her name is Kayla. I think it's pronounced Keila. Anyways, she apparently is an expert at picking locks, so she gets right through that lock in less than a minute, okay? The padlock is opened, but just as she's opening the door, Timothy notices that the sensor at the bottom of the door, and he tries to warn her not to open it. But it was too late. She opens the door, the sensor gets triggered, and an alarm goes off. And then, this is a very strange way to describe it, but as the students peer into the abyss that is the classroom, a hand emerges, beckoning them to enter. How do you think they got the classroom so dark?
The descriptions are just so vivid in this work. It's like I'm there in the school myself, in the hallway, in the stands of the big baseball game, watching Corbin come up to plate. Ninth inning, bottom of the ninth inning, 2 outs, just in time to whiff 3 straight pitches and choke their chance at going to Metros. I mean, oh my God.
That's classic from Corbin, really. It's just his temperament got the best of him in that one, and you just have to hate to see it. Anyways, a hand comes out from the darkness and beckons them into the classroom. It turns out that this hand belongs to Mr. Cody, who we're going to be cued into a few hints that he's in fact blind. So for one, he wears dark sunglasses, and 2, he makes clicking sounds, kind of like a bat. So he's echolocating, right, in that sense. Now this was actually interesting to me because just a month ago I saw in this Stan Lee's Real Life Superheroes a man who used a similar technique to Mr. Cody here, of kind of clicking and look to navigate around, and he was able to use it to great effect, especially in a cave. They took him there on the show, and he was able to find his way around in the complete darkness. So I think it's pretty believable and pretty cool that Mandus includes a character like this. So once they get into the classroom, Mr. Cody sets them up with they each get a different door with a lock on it that they have to try to pick. Mr. Cody provides them with the lock picks, tells them to get themselves a pick by tomorrow, and the kids get to it. So he tells everyone to pair up, and the pairs we got are Felix and Timothy, and then we got Corbin and Kayla. What do you think of these dynamics?
I first of all think it's very interesting that Mr. Cody decided to start a stealth class with a lesson in lock picking, which seems tangentially related to stealth more than anything. I think with this pairing with Timothy and Felix, Timothy might want to perhaps get an autograph or maybe on like a jersey or a baseball or something, because that's going to be he's going to be able to mark that up in a few years when Felix hits the pros, I think.
That's good. Anyways, I kind of had similar thoughts to that of him getting Felix to at least help him in some sort of way, because Felix, as it turns out, his older brother goes to this school, so Felix has a lot more knowledge about the campus and insight into the teachers than Timothy ever would. So I think it would be absolutely advantageous if Timothy became close friends with Felix, and that's something he's going to try to do, so good on Timmy. As for the other pair, Kayla and Corbin, I think this is a very interesting dynamic. We have the incredibly talented lock picker Kayla, who's, as we'll find out, exceptional at picking not just padlocks, but doors as well, even though they have similar mechanisms, of course. And then Corbin, who breaks one of the locks with brute force, or at least he attempts to. Kayla reins him in. How do you think that dynamic's going to go, Magnate?
The dynamic between Corbin and Kayla? I think ultimately they're the perfect tag team. You got brains and brawn, technical skills and brawn. Corbin cannot fail here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking we were setting up some sort of dynamic between the two of them. Kayla clearly shown to be the smartest student so far, and Corbin the dumbest yet the strongest. Going forward, I'm interested to see how their relationship develops. I can only assume it will not develop, though, because I think that Kayla will most likely find herself in a relationship with our main character, Timothy, and not Corbin. So anyways, moving on from that, they get out of stealth class, right, and they go to period 2. And as you should note, both Felix and Timothy have the same period 1, 2, 3, and 6. So they're going together to period 2 right now. And as they reach there, the door, suddenly some students go into the door in front of them, and then the door shuts, okay? The door shuts, and it's such a seamless fit with the wall, they can't open it back up. It's baffling, okay? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get in. But then suddenly the door opens, and they can go in. So they think, all right, problem solved. We go into the room. They go into the room, and they're immediately sprung by 2 attackers, okay? Now, mind you, this is their first day in high school, and they're both freshmen. Do you think this is responsible of the school to have attackers in the building?
I think this is completely irresponsible and sort of a thematic commentary that SST Mantis is writing in here about the ways in which today's youth are violently thrown into what can be a cruel and unforgiving world. I think he expresses this beautifully through the lens of 2 high schoolers getting beat up on their first day of class.
Well, as luck would have it, they do get beat up. They're unable to fight back against the assailants. However, during the scuffle, Timothy does land a hit on... it's later revealed that the 2 assailants are Mr. Cody, who goes by Sensei Cody, actually, and his assistant, Mr. Katsuro. So I'm assuming they're both Japanese-American. It is set in Chicago. Anyways, somehow Timothy knocks out Mr. Katsuro by throwing him into the other attacker, Mr. Cody. And Mr. Katsuro's down for the count. He's getting patched up after this scuffle with the 9th graders. I'm not sure how this happened, really. It's later revealed that both Mr. Katsuro and Mr. Cody were armed with special devices that disable the nervous system of whoever they're placed upon. They look like red glowing bandages. Now, they say these are non-lethal. I'm not buying it. I would be terrified to have one of these put on me. Apparently disables everything but critical function of breathing and the contraction of the heart. So you're essentially paralyzed. I'm not sure whether you're conscious or not. Most likely not. But Sensei Cody and his assistant seem to parrot these as non-lethals. What are your thoughts on this magnate?
I think this is a dramatic technological step to take for what has been an ultimately relatively grounded book thus far. I mean, we've all had run-ins with strange objects that give us mystical prophecies, but I think technology that allows you to humanely knock someone out is just a step too far for me.
It is a step too far for me as well. I would not like one of these Band-Aids put on me. Anyways, as it turns out, they have a blue Band-Aid that does the opposite, and it nullifies the effects of the red Band-Aid. So they use the blue Band-Aid after they knock them out. And we cut to about 30 minutes later, and all the students apparently in that class went through the same ambush sort of scenario that Felix and Timothy did. And they all end up sitting in this room, assumingly they've all been beat up, transported into this attic-like space, and now they're all watching Sensei Cody give them a quick lecture. And he's saying that this first test was to dynamically assess the students' base skills, and that he designed the curriculum around this. I think this is a bit of an extreme way to carry out that first test, and there could have been a sheet that the students filled out saying if they'd have any previous self-defense experience, but maybe he just really likes to assess that himself. Or do you think this is a good way of assessing students' capabilities?
I think he could have definitely started with some basic athletic standards, maybe get a sprint speed, some sort of strength test, some tests of endurance. Ultimately, these are the core factors that build good self-defense that ultimately technical skills need to be taught on top of. I have to be very critical of Sensei Tai's teaching techniques here.
Yeah, as Timothy says it himself, the only thing he was ever trained was sprinting. He was not a combatant. He knocked out Mr. Katsuro by sheer luck, and I think that such tests should be removed from the school's curriculum immediately. Anyways, going on after that, they go to their third class, which is Intro to Computer Science with Mrs. Alanis. Oh, actually, sorry. There's one thing I forgot to mention. In their self-defense class, we're introduced with a fourth character. Not only is Corbin returning in that class, but Lucille, who's another girl, is introduced. And she poses a question to the teacher. I forget what that question is, but it must not have been particularly important. So, all right, on with period 3. We're going to see that we're having some returning characters. Corbin does not show up in CS, but Lucille does, and we're introduced to 2 new characters, Mrs. Alanis and Keyshawn. So, on their way to the CS class, they're almost hit by Timothy is almost hit in the head by a drone. Now, who let this drone into the hallway, I'm not sure, but as it turns out, it was delivering a cardboard box to the class. Now, Timothy himself says that the rotors on the drone, it's a quadcopter, looked a little too small to be powering this drone, but there was a blue light coming from the bottom. What do we think that blue light might have been?
I think I couldn't have expected it to be anything other than like a standard indicator light for maybe the condition of the drone or its connectivity to a controller, or even just as simple as indicating that the drone is on and operating correctly.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I figured the drone was going so low, namely by Timothy's head level, simply because the rotors were not powerful enough to get it any higher. The school is described as having incredibly tall hallways, and I think that the drone really should be flying, if it's let into hallways, at maximum height. That should not hit any students. Anyways, it's revealed that their CS teacher, Miss Alanis, programmed the drone, and she was behind it all. Or at least, she brags about how she programmed it. She doesn't see that it nearly hit her students. And Timothy is not too keen on her after that. And he's even less keen on her after he sees what the lesson of today, their first day is on, which is history of computer science. Timothy, he seems like a man who just wants to code. He says it himself, I just want to code. He doesn't care about history. It's clear he didn't sign up for any humanities classes. Why are they teaching this history of CS in such a class?
I think they are attempting to balance out this curriculum even just a little bit with a little bit of humanities, a little bit of perspective. I think this is ultimately something that could greatly benefit Timothy in this moment to reflect on maybe why he always feels the need to neglect such important subjects and how that might be affecting his development.
Unfortunately, he does not do any such reflecting. He says that he gets very bored and he almost wants to fall asleep. He does not fall asleep, and he instead notes that his new friend Felix is very engaged in the class. Maybe Felix can be a positive role model for Timmy. So it's a good thing that they're seeming to be bonding. And lastly, before lunch, he ends up in period 4, which is circuitry A with Mrs. Linton. So, to start off circuitry, he shows up late to the class. I'm not sure how he shows up late to every class, but he does. The other students are already in the desk, and so we have some returning characters, Lucille and Kayla. So anyway, they seem to be arguing at the table over who stole whose notebook, okay? Timothy comes in, and he sorts the problem out. He gets it done. He gives him his notebook, or one of his spare notebooks, solves the conflict, and then a hologram appears in the middle of the classroom, and it talks to them about Ohm's law, okay? You know, I'm not really sure why they're learning this on the first day of circuitry. I think syllabus would probably be in order first, maybe some introductions, some name games. This could be said for any of their classes, really, but I think at this school, they're really prioritizing subject matter over any sort of student-driven activity. What do you think about this?
I have to agree. I think the best introduction that Timothy has perhaps gotten so far is when Sensei Tai introduced him to his fists in the way of beating him up upon first meeting him. I think a syllabus and maybe some sort of government oversight is desperately what this school needs.
It's good you bring up the topic of government oversight, because before the students go here, their parents, these students are not of legal age. They cannot consent to anything. Their parents have to essentially sign away their students' rights to the school. And that to me does not seem like a good thing. It says that Timothy's parents were worried, especially after they saw his schedule and he had a class called weaponry. But they went along with it anyways. I think that was a terrible move on their part. Sure, the school is prestigious. Sure, it might give him a great career. But I would not want my child going to any school with a weaponry class in it. Of course, unless he was joining the army, but I don't think that's what he's doing. Is he joining the Army Magnate?
I think this is more striking commentary by SST Mantis on topics such as, sending youth to war and in that way signing away their rights and their futures. the death of a child is the worst thing that can happen, and it's something that sometimes we become so sort of disaffected by that we need an author like SST Mantis to really expose that for us in the form of a child going to a high school where they learn a bunch of weird spy skills and also a lot of computer science and electrical engineering for some reason.
Well, it did say EE1 in the prophecy, so I'm assuming that refers to electrical engineering 1. But who knows?
That's a good theory.
I think that's one of my leading theories on this book, actually. Magnate, do you think that any of the students may die during the course of this novel? That's something I think would really help cement these themes and drive them home.
I would predict so. I predict a dramatic and tragic death for Felix Hernandez right after the big game, I think.
That would certainly be rough for Felix right after the big game. I was also worried about Corbin. I think he might be a bit of a throwaway character from what I'm reading so far, and his death, I'm not sure if we're supposed to sympathize with it or how much we will after we're explained only that he's not very bright, but it would be an interesting tactic nonetheless. All right, moving on. Circuitry A. So they learn Ohm's law. They're told to memorize a bunch of vocabulary, and they're sent out to lunch. Timothy asks Felix to meet him at the library for lunch. Okay, this was actually before Circuitry A. They don't have the same class together. So they're planning on meeting up at the library. Timothy doesn't know where to get the lunch. He's looking all over the place. He doesn't know where the library is either. But then he finds both somehow on the school map, which is what the school map is for, of course. And at the school map, he runs into Lucille, who also didn't know where the stuff was. She asks him if she can join him. Timothy says yes, so they all go to lunch together at the library. And so they get to the library. Felix is there. He's eating some spaghetti. I guess that's what they served. I'm not sure what Timothy got. And they also run into Keyshawn. So it's kind of interesting in this library. It's a very, very futuristic setting we got here. There is no librarian, and now this may seem kind of strange, but there's an AI voice that emanates throughout the library, which is the AI librarian. So they're not sure if they can be eating the food in the library, and despite the fact that there's nobody in there to tell them not to, they call out, yelling, or Keyshawn does, to the voice in the library of whether they can eat food. And they're actually given a response that they can eat in the study boxes. So they go into the study box, all four of them, and they turn on the radio to Keyshawn's favorite station. And it just so happens that there's a breaking news event on that station that discusses Henry from the prologue. So as it turned out, after the events of the prologue, Henry's apartment burned down, and he was left in the rubble. There were eyewitness reports of a man on top of the apartment with a glowing item in his possession. They weren't sure what was going on with that. Luckily, I'm relieved to hear that Henry is recovering in Physician Freddy's clinic, so at least there's some good to come out of this story. What do you think happened at the apartment?
I think that mystery will sort of be revealed through, I'm sure, Timothy Brett's investigations as this book continues. I am sure, though, now that it has something to do with the prophecy, with the magic bracelets. Definitely some supernatural factors at play here.
How do you think Timothy is going to end up being involved in all this? Because I think we know this is where the story is going, but right now he's in his high school. They seem to have some strange activities, but I wouldn't say anything to the extent of magic bracelets.
I would say they kind of have been getting pretty close to that with some of their futuristic technology here. I also think this book is clearly ripping off of Harry Potter, so there will definitely be some sort of way in which Timothy Brett becomes involved with this prophecy and this conflict.
Well, I mean, that's just to be certain. The technology in the school, as we're going to see in the coming chapters, is absolutely bonkers. You've seen some stuff, but you haven't seen it all yet. They go crazy. Or I should say, SST Mantis, his imagination is wild with what he can come up with. So that was the first week's book talk on Prologue and Chapter 1 of The Magic Trio by SST Mantis. We'll be covering Chapter 2 in the next weeks. Stay tuned for that.
Next month.
Sorry, next month. Next podcasts.
Next podcast.
All right. You are a being lost at space, drifting alone in a cold void. You have no emotion, no desire, and yet you must kill to survive. In Parasite, you take the role of a protagonist rogue ship who endeavors to conquer the galaxy equipped with only basic weapons and a unique ability to capture and control other ships. Fight your way to prominence in a galaxy controlled by several unique factions. Build your armies to conquer your enemies and investigate the galaxy to understand the mystery behind your existence. Parasite game is coming soon to Steam and Epic Games.
The Seattleite satellites are bringing to you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rep their brand. Made from only the finest silks of Egypt and China, a line of exclusive merch designs including SST logo in black, SST logo in gray, and more dropping soon. Designs printed locally and available on quality breathable tees. Send an email to seattleitesatellites@gmail.com to order yours personally created and shipped to you. Delivery times vary. Send your order to seattleitesatellites@gmail.com. That's seattleitesatellites@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Click on the
Saturday is
that's
closed.
not. Click. Our final segment of the day is SST covers the U.S. 2024 election. This podcast will not be released until after the election is over. So we're going to have to adapt to that somehow.
Think of some interesting things to say, namely the polls, which are about the only thing we can be saying. Right now, according to this New York Times polling, Harris is leading 49% to 48%. It seems to be a very tight race, only narrowing as the time goes on. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm thinking it's a tough shake for Harris Walls at this point. The race has been shifting in the Donald's favor for the better part of a month now. I think he's unlikely to overtake Harris in the popular vote or in the national polling average or even in the popular vote during the election. But I do think he might be more likely to win through the Electoral College. He does appear to be doing well in most swing states right now. If we look at polling averages, we see he's up by 3 in Arizona, up by 2 in Georgia, up by 1 in North Carolina. We'll see how these play out on Election Day. The big prize, Pennsylvania, is still even, as is Nevada, with Harris having slight leads in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin and Michigan.
Well, I find that interesting because Henry was from Michigan.
Why is that interesting?
Let's forget about the subject.
I just want to say, make sure, even though this is being released after the election has happened, make sure to get out and vote. Yep. I know I will be mailing my ballot,
as will
not in
what
to Washington State, but rather to my friend at UNC, so that my vote might actually count for something instead of voting in a state that's already basically guaranteed to go to Harris. So I do recommend you mail in your votes, and I do recommend you mail them to swing states. And this is legal?
Absolutely legal. I've never heard of anyone complaining about such things. I mean, mailing your votes to different states, how would they even know it was from a different state? My ballot didn't say anything about where I lived. All it says is my name. And all they know from my name is that I'm a U.S. citizen, so wherever that ballot appears, that must be where I'm from. And judging by that, everyone just mail your ballots to the swing states. We're going to make something happen.
We'll set up a P.O. box in, let's say, Pennsylvania. If you mail in your ballots before the election or even after, we'll cast them for you. We'll set up that P.O. box next podcast, I think. So you'll be able to send them in there. Don't even worry about voting by November 5th or whenever the heck that stupid election is.
Yeah, actually, if you vote after it, the vote has a higher likelihood of being counted in the recount because they count in all the late votes.
We are projecting a recount for PA, okay? Big recount in Pennsylvania. Get your vote in the recount only. Okay, here's an interesting idea. What's your rare election prediction? For instance, mine is that this will be the first election we see blue Alaska, the big state, going big ticket Democrat this time.
I find that somewhat unlikely, but I think it certainly is a bold prediction, and that's the bold prediction. And if we're making bold predictions right now, I'm thinking red New York. Red New York is going to be unprecedented. The Yankees just lost the World Series. They're furious. They want change. They want red New York. Fat Joe, just like Biden, he disappointed New York. They're going to bring in Trump.
Because Fat Joe let New York down, Sleepy Joe has let America down. I think red New York is a great pick for a bold election prediction. Just say thanks for watching.
All right, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching our first episode of the monthly SST podcast. Name still pending. We'll have a finalized intro song next month, I'm sure.
Certainly
that'll
will.
probably go up on Spotify too. I'm thinking that'll go pretty viral. It's kind of a smash hit, if I had to say.
And while we're on the topic of Spotify, be sure to check out White Mantis on Spotify. He's actually not called White Mantis.
Don't check him out. Yeah,
called
because
Mantis.
He hasn't guested yet.
Oh, shoot, my bad. Don't check him out.
Check him out when he guests in a future episode.
Don't check him out. We don't want anything to go to him until he appears on the SST podcast. We want
and maybe makes a few shorts
for
our YouTube channel too.
That would be nice if you could do that for us. All right, that concludes this week's SST show. Thank you all for watching. I'm co-host Mogul with Magnate.
Co-host Magnate.
What do we do?
Welcome to the SST Podcast. We hope that this episode will not be your last. It's SST's very own variety shows. Come on down.